All right, fellas, let's talk about how the media criminalizes Black murder victims, yet makes excuses for white killers. Now, this topic stemmed from a recent New York Post headline that highlighted the Louisville shooter Connor Sturgeon as a star athlete. And in an older New York Post headline, it pretty much labeled Trayvon Martin as a weed head. I posted this on my page. I said they criminalize the Black victim and they make excuses for the white murderer. So what are your thoughts on the criminalization of victims, especially Black victims, in the media? We see this all the time. Al, what do you think?
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But look, this is one time that I want to shout out being an employee at a place like FOXSOUL, because that's why Black media like FOXSOUL is very important. And I want to give a shout out to the Black Report, because they do a great job of giving you our perspective on our news. Now, you remember Media Matters. Media Matters is a research center, and they found that in the city of New York, among the media in New York, 54% of the murders in 2014 were committed by African Americans. However, 75% of the content of murders shown in the media, they only showed Black men. How crazy is that the media can influence people's minds to think that only Black men are murderers, thieves, and assaulters? This is insane to me.
Agreed. Q, what are your thoughts?
You know, I attempt to understand the psychology behind people's behaviors, and I have a question for you guys. Obviously, it's racist behavior, it's biased behavior, but do you think the undercurrent of it all is that white person is able to look at that white boy and see their son, or see their family member, and that is why they're more gentle on those headlines versus somebody else? I mean, do you think that is part of the psychology?
Absolutely. And it's all about humanizing people that look like them and demonizing people that don't. I remember Barack Obama got so much flack when he talked about some of the kids getting killed at Sandy Hook. And he said, you know, those boys, it was about Trayvon Martin. He said he could have been my son. Like, he could have been my son. And people were so angry about that. But here's the thing, Black media, we're going to have to do the same thing and overcompensate. And that's why we do have FOXSOUL, because they always make us look like animals. Have you had one little puff of weed 10 years ago, your entire life story is through that weed lens. Mm-hmm. And they make every excuse for the white kid. Oh, well, he had CTE and let's study his brain. They don't ever give that kind of grace to Black victims, not even the assailants, victims, right, Al? Isn't that crazy?
Right, it's crazy. It's insane. And I don't know, do you think it's psychology or is it bias? Is it racism?
I mean, it's still rooted in a certain psychology, but I definitely think, you know, it's human nature to a degree to have a bit more compassion when you can relate more to the victim, or that person comes across as your son, your nephew, your brother, or whatever the case may be.
And I just want to say before we go to break, and that statistic, I think, Al, you said 54% of the murders were committed by Black people.
Yes.
That is, I know it's a hard conversation. I don't want to come off Candace Owens because I'm not, but as 13% of the population, we have got to work on that. We have got to clean up our house, because there's no way in hell 13% of the population should be committing 54% of murders and giving them credence, giving them an out to be able to do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, we have to hold our own accountable. Like, hey, bro, like, we can't allow that, because it's not that hard of an argument for them to go, well, 54% to 72%, well, only 13. It's not a good number for us. We have got to work on it, and they have got to stop with the nonsense.